On August 6, fresh and innocent, my friend Marina and I began our trip at the Canadian border near Eureka, Montana, heading south along the Continental Divide. 6 weeks and 1,500 miles later, we arrived in Salida, Colorado. The route crossed the Continental Divide 14 times and numerous other passes along the way. The first few days were exhausting getting in shape. Marina perfected life in a prone position to give her butt a rest. Ross, Marina's dog, proved to be in the best shape of the three of us, and in times in the desert, he ran 30 miles a day. 90% of the route was on gravel roads of varying conditions. 10% was on paved roads. We even traveled a few miles on the interstate. Beginning from the Canadian border near Eureka, Montana, we traveled south on forest roads, climbing up and down over the foothills. Beautiful mountain scenes were always accompanied by brown blotches of dead trees. The pine bark beetle has killed most of the mature lodgepole pine throughout the whole Rocky Mountain region, from Canada through Colorado. In some places, the Forest Service has carved wide fire breaks along the roads in an effort to contain a catastrophic fire. What do you do if you're a moose caught between two bicycles with a yapping dog and a car? You get out of the road. Early in the trip, a cat found our lunch spot and checked out the idea of joining our journey. Avoiding the cows became a focus. The ones on the road were easy. The challenge was finding a creek for drinking water that was not contaminated with poop. Sometimes we were riding down abandoned railroad grades, which were easy riding except for the pitch blackness inside of the occasional tunnel. Other times the roads were rough. In the beginning, I had way too much weight, which made it even more difficult. Our first map guided us 530 miles to Polaris. The bar was closed, so we moved on, ignoring some of the bigger questions of life. We crossed into Wyoming. I was tired and couldn't resist a brief excursion by water. Then we skirted the western edge of Yellowstone, passed through Red Rock National Wildlife Refuge. There we got to hear the magical calls of the sandhill cranes and the more rare whooping cranes. Then we were headed up Tagwati Pass. On the way up the pass, a freshly fallen tree blocked the road. I did the manly thing of clearing the way. And what was my reward?
Enough to get through. Oh, you didn't do a good job because I get close.
Marina was always on the lookout for a real cowboy. But mostly it was cowgirls that we found doing the work. So the Green River.
Yes.
After the Green River, we entered a more open land of historic South Pass, where old wagon routes converged and mining towns flourished and faded into ghosts. We worried about the long distances between water sources and the hot weather. Marina and Ross had to share from Marina's red cup. But in fact, the desert leg turned out to be our favorite.
Okay.
Ross, kom. Nej, kom du. Kom hit, Ross. Ross.
We anticipated a difficult and uninteresting journey across hot, barren land, but the Great Basin turned out to be our favorite leg. The sense of space was intoxicating. The vastness was both beautiful and fully alive, inviting our minds to expand and our bodies to venture deeper into its mystery. The basin, bounded by mountains on both sides, has no drainage to the sea. Pronghorns, wild horses, badgers, and ground squirrels all had their homes there. In many ways, it was the closest we came to finding true wilderness. Just as a major storm hit that flooded the eastern slope of Colorado, Carol met us and whisked us 100 miles up to Steamboat Springs, where we waited in comfort for better weather, then on to Breckenridge and the high passes of Colorado. Boreas was our high point at 11,480 feet. We arrived there as the first snowfall of the year dusted the peaks. On the other side of the pass, we came to South Park. After the highly developed areas of Silverthorne and Breckenridge, it was a relief to find open space again. Oddities like playgrounds in the middle of a prairie and streets that went nowhere were evidence that all attempts at development had failed. Then there was the long descent into the Arkansas River Valley and Salida, our final destination. I know that the trip changed me. Some of the effects will take time to understand, but for now what I remember most is the joy of moving each day through a new land, relishing its beauty from the uncomplicated perspective of a human-powered voyage.